We're live.
Week 3.
Episode 3. Episode 3, week 3. Either one works.
Yeah. We're going to keep plugging away at it, right?
Keep plugging. That's all we can do. We're thrown in the deep end of the pool. Now we're trying to swim our way to the side.
I was not a very good, strong swimmer growing up. So even though I was on the swim team, still.
I was going to say, you were on the swim team.
I know, but really, backstroke was kind of my thing.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's kind of like treading water, I guess. Jody's going to give us a hard time about bringing up swimming and having no clue what we're talking about.
I know.
So
Sorry.
It's okay.
I will say that Spring Valley Pool had the best freaking hot dogs ever. They were split
You
and put
have
on a griddle.
raved about those hot dogs ever since I met you. We went there once, right?
We went there. It was a July 4th thing, I think. We were home
After
and
July
the
4th,
church
yeah.
had something out there. I don't know that we actually went in the pool though. All
No.
of the pool was open. I think the pool was like we went over to like where they have the shelter and we had like there's a cookout
Well, wait a
thing.
minute. Then we had the kids, and didn't they go in? Because it was, I mean, this wasn't a pool, though, so much. It was a lake.
It's like a pool slash like it has like a big cement thing in the center and a tall diving board in the level. Yeah, and the little shack where they had the.
Yeah. It should be noted this is in Granville, Ohio. We're
Yes.
talking about Spring Valley Pool.
Anyone my age or probably even a little bit younger, I mean, that was like, there's lots of memories made at Spring Valley Pool. I mean, your summers are spent and there are people who for decades had spots like that were their spots, the moms, like, you know, and then when you got into high school, you were able to sit at the special tables and it's a pretty big deal. Lemon heads and Boston baked meat, like the candies, but like they had that, and like chick something like 10-cent candies, and you had a little brown envelope with your money your parents put in that you could spend, and then when you were all out,
Right.
you know. Anyway, yeah, how did we get to this?
Because we got thrown in the deep end of the pool with a small business. And we're to pool memories at
Spring Valley Pool
in
in Granville,
Granville.
Ohio.
Yeah, which is no longer there, right?
Right.
Filled in.
It's
I mean, there's nothing. What is there now?
I don't even know. I'm on this like Facebook page, you know, you're from Granville, Ohio, and every now and then a Spring Valley post will pop up. But Spring Valley Pool was it was a big deal. They had out in the parking lot, they had a stone that like you tried to get the sword and the stone out, you know, and there's a sword in it.
Did they have somebody hiding up in the rafters with the button like on the backside of Cinderella's castle?
Yeah, no.
From the carousel?
As magical as my childhood was, that was not a magic
not
thing
a
that
magic-
happened.
Okay. All right. You know what? I think we should start the show.
Okay.
It is the Sam and M podcast at SamWalkerOBXNews.com. How you doing? It's episode 3. I'm Sam.
I'm Em.
Last time we checked, anyway. You're wearing your. I'm not going to do that joke. No. We are brought to you by State Line Power Wash, locally owned and operated by Parker and Smith Hammer. Pressure washing, painting, concrete floor, ceilings, serving the Outer Banks of northeastern North Carolina. Over 140 5-star reviews on Google alone. Schedule now for the winter and early spring discounts at StatelinePowerWash.com and get yourself a free estimate. And speaking of 5 stars, make sure you're giving us 5 stars on all your favorite podcast apps. YouTube, Facebook, hit that like button, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, all that stuff. So you know what's going on with us on the Sam and M podcast and at SamWalkerOBXNews.com. So, what to talk about this week? And we are in week 2, as you mentioned in the cold open, week 3 of the podcast, but really fully week 2 of SamWalkerOBXNews.com. Mm-hmm. What should we talk about?
I think before we go any farther, I think we need to do a little explanation of SamWalkerOBXNews.com and why it is and what's coming from it.
All
is that okay for a second?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it is. It's hard for me to try to explain in a short amount of time, what this entails. At the same time, there's some thoughts in my head that I want to say, and we talked about it pre-show, don't say that, say this. And if there's anything that I have learned in 32 years together, it'll be 33 in September. You're always right.
I'm always right.
But at the same time, what do you think? What
Ladies,
should I say?
it took a long time to get him there.
Yeah. It has taken a long time.
Well, let me just say this.
All right.
I just want to say that we have had 99.9% positive feedback, amazing feedback.
Yeah.
People have been liking, sharing, people have been subscribing. It has just been, it has been amazing. And I've made posts and I just cannot say thank you enough. And we definitely feel the love and appreciate it. Really? So that I will always, Sam and I want people to know how much we appreciate it. Different points in our life when our son passed away, we feel the love. We don't know how to say we appreciate it, but we do. And that's very important. And we have had nothing except for just a little bit of 2 or 3 comments really out of hundreds of comments.
Haters gonna hate.
Haters are gonna hate. You know, I love my son Swiftie. I'm a big Swiftie fan. We'll get into that one day. But anyway, but the comments were basically that Sam was selling out and Sam was going for a money grab, and doing Sam Walker OBX News .com, and it's a subscription. You can get part of it for free. It's through this Patreon, and it's $11.99 a month for a subscription. And I just
to be a founder. Because that's what you're doing. If that group who has already done this, and we had, as we talked about last week, we had someone sign up before we even launched. We've had friends, close friends who were within minutes of the actual physical launch when I posted the video announcing it on January 5th. And it's been great. But we wanted to make them a part. I wanted to make you a part of this, and that's why I called it Founders, because that's what you're doing. You're founding something brand new that's never been done or tried here on the Outer Banks and in northeastern North Carolina.
And we do want to be, though, 100% transparent. If anything anybody knows about Sam and Emily, we're also transparent, probably to a fault. Sometimes people know too much about us. But anyway, that's just how we are. And so we wanted to just talk about the why of a prescription. Lord have mercy.
She's trying to learn this terminology since we started this. It's all, we know what you're saying, prescription, but subscription. Founder. Yes.
Yes. And so the purpose of that is, before in the past when you've presented the news, you've had a paycheck, you've had an employer, you were the employee, and you were doing a job. You are still doing that job of which you love to do all the time, but now you are, unfortunately or fortunately, I look at it, I'm a glass half full, so I think fortunately you have become your own employer, and so you have to pay yourself. And that's just a fact of life. And so the subscription, or being a founder, is really no different than getting a Netflix subscription. No different than becoming part, getting your local newspaper subscription. So it's not anything that we really want to harp on or go on forever. But Sam's not very good at
I'm not. I am awful at sales. I'll be straight up. That was the one thing that scared me coming out of college and going to the broadcast business was I didn't have to handle the money on it. I did try it for 6 months and it was a disaster back in 1998, and then stepped away, came back to the business in 1999 as an on-air person, and then it went from there. And then the last 2 years, there was some things, it just didn't work. So, it comes in on December 27th, and it was like, okay, there's a kick in the pants. You got to figure out what you're going to do. And there were some very generous offers there in terms of, we'll get you something. But looking at it and us having very, very long conversations between Christmas and New Year's, thank goodness it actually did happen when it did. Now to look back at it, it was not a fun holiday season in the end. It was magical for the lead up to it. But with having the grandkids, but we had the time together to flesh this out and come up with, no, don't do that. You're going to do this. And having our closest friends and our friends who we've made over the years through social media, and friends who we've made through showing up at meetings, and friends we have not talked to in years who have stepped in and already signed up and become founders. It's really been amazing, but
but it is what pays the bills.
It's
it helps pay the bills.
It helps pay the bills.
That's all we have to say. I just thought it was very important that we explained the fact that this isn't just like a fun side thing. Like,
no.
This is who you are. Sam absolutely loves it. There was no other option than to figure out how to continue doing it, and we have found a way. And you all are helping us continue. But that's enough of it. But I just really felt strongly that we needed to say that Sam isn't selling out, and Sam isn't going up for a money grab. This is just a subscription, or you being a founder of something that I think is amazing. And we appreciate every single person who takes time to become a founder and who listens to us. So thank you.
And everybody who's signed up just to be a member with the free membership, which gets you things, but to get the full scope of what we offer at samwalkerobxnews.com, be a founder, because then you're getting full access to everything. Plus, we're going to throw in all these bonus features, and that's one thing. We'll be 2 weeks old by the time the podcast is out, and by the time you're listening to this, samwalkerobxnews.com is 2 weeks old. And to get all the founders we've gotten, to get all the members, the free members that we've gotten so far, all the additional people who have signed up on social media for stuff. And, at the same time, what this does is allows me to go out and do more things to give you content and keep you informed, and come up with cool things to do. And we're recording this on Wednesday. This was just a couple hours before we went to air. I was out there on 158 out Barco Food Mart. Shout out to Ike Midget and Rick Suddeth for letting me set up in the parking lot with the webcam and the laptop on the back of the tailgate of the Jeep and record the Wounded Warriors in Action parade / escort and bring people that, because it was in the middle of the afternoon, who couldn't see it. We'll be able to go do those things. I'm planning after, we got a meeting on Thursday with the Dare County Housing Initiative, or the Housing Task Force. At the same time, that after midday, they're going to go burn down Pamlico Chags over there in Nags Head at Whalebone. My goal is, and again, we're recording this Wednesday, is go out there and live stream it. If that meeting ends fast enough, I can go out and live stream it. Those are the cool things I love doing, because we're able to bring you something that nobody else is doing, is being on the scene and giving you that first look, live blogging of meetings, live blogging of events, and be able to do more. But by getting founders, we're able to do more with that. But at the same time, and be honest with you, so that the lights are on and the internet's paid and the water bill's paid and all that stuff requires me to work. I'd love to sit home and be stay-at-home dad. I was sort of kind of stay-at-home dad raising the kids, but having another job that essentially paid for daycare. All
right, enough.
Okay. So what we're saying in the end, thank you to everyone who's been a founder.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone who signed up as a member. Please consider the $11.99 a month to become a founder, just because it helps you, it helps us, it helps the whole situation, and everything will be better. Will be great. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Boom. So, but thank you.
Yes,
all right.
Thank you.
Okay. But we just thought that was something Emily really thought we needed to clear the air about that part of things. As far as why we went that route. And eventually it will evolve. Thank you, State Line Power Wash, for jumping on the podcast on episode 2 and signing up. We've got other people who've already expressed interest, and we're working on that now with both that, figuring out a way to get the website eventually to a point where we got advertisers on the website. That takes a little bit more work with Patreon, and that's where, eventually we may, there's some things. This is an evolving thing. It's going to be an ever-evolving thing, no different than the news and how we gather the news and the information, and how this place of 110 miles of sandbar in the middle of the ocean and all these 5 fingers that stick into a sound have evolved over the millennia. We're evolving with this. So, all right. So enough about that.
Welcome to my world, people.
There's one thing
Sometimes
about
a
it.
simple yes no is not a simple yes no.
One thing about it, as much as we share on social media our lives and share all of our experiences and share the news, at the same time, the podcast is just giving a whole avenue to share what it really is like between these ears, between these cans that I wear. It's a bunch of cats routing. It's like herding cats up there, as we say when we're officiating the little kids. It's like herding cats. So. Mm-hmm. All right, so that's enough about that. Let's do this. How about this? We need to thank our sponsor. And that sponsor, of course, is, and I've been playing with music all day, trying to figure out what I was going to use for today's spot, and I think I'll do this one. We'll see if Emily recognizes it.
Sounds like a Disney ride. Is it Figment?
No.
Oh.
No, it's not. It's not Imagination thing. It's the exit ramp. It's the exit walkway now at Space Mountain.
A little known fact at our house, you can probably walk in at any time and Sam will have some Disney ride, music, or parade.
Or watching someone walk around the parks for 12 hours with a live stream.
It gets a little intense, y'all. A little intense.
All right. Well, the Sam and M podcast is brought to you by StatelinePowerWash.com. That's right. Pressure washing, painting, concrete floor sealing. You got those fuzzy bill bodies still stuck on the siding, even though the 70-mile-an-hour winds didn't blow them off, and then the ice this morning didn't freeze them off. They're there. Get them off. That driveway deck or roof looking all grimy and slimy. Gutter washing. Think about it. We hadn't had a lot of rain in this fall, and all those leaves and pine straw that collected in the gutters got to go somewhere, and it's stuck up there, and then we get these gully washers, these gutter washer storms, and the water's not coming out. Well, get State Line Power Wash to go up there and clean the gutters for you. They've got a process to get those shingles looking shiny. Even old roofs can look brand new. Ready to freshen up the outside or inside of your home? Then State Line Power Wash will get you covered with their painting services. Brightens the look of your primary home, that home that may be going on the market, or your vacation rental at StatelinePowerWash.com. Garage floor needs a coating right now? Well, State Line Power Wash uses a polyaspartic, I'm going to learn it, seal, polyaspartic seal. Same stuff used in commercial kitchens. Take the hose and hose it off. You can do that to your garage too. Concrete seals, coatings, and finishing touches for any outdoor space, whether it's a patio, pool pad, or driveway. StatelinePowerWash.com. Locally owned and operated by Parker and Smith Hammer. They grew up right here in Currituck with local staff, so you know you're keeping it local with State Line Power Wash. And they've got over 145-star reviews on Google too. From Moyock to Manio, Edenton to Ducks, schedule now with State Line Power Wash. That's StatelinePowerWash.com and grab their winter and early spring discounts. You'll find them on all these social media platforms too. StatelinePowerWash.com. Call them 252-421-3775 and get your free estimate. That's StatelinePowerWash.com. Thank you, boys, for shouting us out and helping us out here on the Sam and M podcast.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so let's. We've had so much great feedback, not just about the site, but about the show, about the podcast, about the Sam and Ed podcast, and some of that's been great comments and great suggestions, and great questions about stuff we've talked about. And you know, we're going to go all over the map with the show. We've talked about that before. It's a stream of consciousness. Yes, there are scripts.
I didn't let him print them out for me today.
No,
I wrote a few notes, but I
She's
did not
handwrite.
let him
I am
print
type it in a Google Doc and print it if I have to, so I don't lose it. But so you've had a couple of comments from folks about what they want to kind of follow up from our first two episodes. So what are we going to start with?
A couple of people asked me like, well, what are some of the things you've noticed with the weight loss?
Okay.
What are some of the things like you noticed before and after about it that are different?
Right.
I had two people ask me that, so I don't want to say it was like a lot, but I had two people ask the same kind of question. So there's the obvious. There's the obvious that I feel healthier. I've got tons more energy. I feel mentally, I think I feel better. I don't think I really ever thought of myself as a depressive person, but I think when I look back, there probably was a lot of depressive behavior or, you know, things like that. And then obviously it's actually really nice to be able to order smaller size clothes. It's fun. I'm wearing horizontal. My mother used to say, you can't wear horizontal stripes. It's not for big people. She didn't really say it like that, but she said no horizontal stripes. So I'm wearing horizontal stripes. So there's that. And I'm a big thrift store person. I love to go to a thrift store. Last weekend I went to pick up Harper and she was taking a nap, so I stopped at the thrift store and I came home with a couple things for myself and even for Sam some pants. So it's nice to be able to go and just do those. So those are the obvious things. Something I probably didn't notice before about myself was I've always thought of myself as a fairly confident person. Like I didn't think of myself as not confident, but I just notice myself now being more confident in what I say or how I say it, or entering a room with people I don't know. I'm on the board of trustees at COA now, and that's entailed going to a couple of different conferences and stuff. And I feel more confident, I think, than I would have differently going in and speaking or saying, you know, meeting people or strangers. So I think my confidence is definitely better.
And it's obvious, much more obvious now than, you know, at the time where you were, you know, in the near the three bills, that it, you know, you do feel you don't have that apprehension of even getting up and going something as simple as going to church or something like that and not feeling like, oh gosh, I don't want any of these people to see me.
Right.
You know, even this right here, what we're doing now would have never happened prior to this. You would have not wanted to be on camera. You would have done, I think we could have done the audio.
Right.
But doing the video side of it, you would have never let me do this.
Probably not. I
mean, you know, and there was always, you know, I post a picture and I look terrible. And you still say that. You were giving me that yesterday when I was cutting the promo video.
Yeah.
That, God, I look awful. No, you don't. You look great. Oh, I know. No, it wasn't that one. It was the cookie video when we were at Harris Teeter.
Oh,
you made that about the TikTok I made.
Yeah.
Was that the confidence thing? But there's one thing that you've talked about over the years in your career as a pharmacist has been the way you were treated when you were working, and treated by not just customers, but treated by coworkers, treated by superiors over the years. Because of, well, I mean, and you have a hard enough time because of gender. Straight up. I will be the first one to say the patriarchy sucks. And I will say that till the day I die. The patriarchy sucks. And, you know, it does. It's a reality that we live in. And you have had to deal with so much with that. But on top of that, the weight, the appearance, the confidence that you didn't have when you were going into situations, and at the same time, the respect that you deserve as a healthcare professional that you didn't get because of that.
Yeah, there is definitely some of that. There was, I'll never forget, when I worked in Edenton, there was a man who I would not do something. I can't remember what I wasn't. I don't know. He wasn't getting his prescription fast enough or something. He was irritated, and he just screams out. He said, "Well, if you'd move your fat," and he literally said, "Your fat ass. Maybe you could get something done." And my partner looked at me and he said, "If you want to go out there and knock him out, it's okay with me." You know, I mean, it didn't matter. There's people everywhere. It didn't matter. And actually, his wife called me later that night and apologized. But you know, the damage was done. The man's wife. But you know, the damage is done, and there's another knock against you. But again, though, through the time, I really always thought of myself as a pretty strong person. But looking back, I definitely can see it. So what I would like to say or get out there to people is, don't be what Emily was. Don't be ashamed of your size. Don't let that. It's very hard. But I see, like, I'm a huge TikTok person, so don't judge. But I love looking at these bigger size people who are just confident they're wearing, even just a simple thing like wearing a bikini. I mean, how many times did I go to the beach and be like, oh my God, I could never do that. I have got 10 cover-ups or whatever. Right. It doesn't matter. I wish I could take away all of that shame that I felt, all that felt. Because no matter what size you are a human being. You have valid feelings. You have valid thoughts. You have valid opinions. And that should be listened to no matter what your size. And so I just wish I could take from people that shame away, or that feeling away, or that insecurity away, and people have it. So the only thing I can do other than taking away someone's feelings with that is to empower them to feel differently, and let them know that I think you are a valid human being no matter what your size is. And it is okay. There are plenty of people. I mean, I follow lots of people who are big and they're doing a lot more athletic things, and they're more athletic than other people. And I follow them and I'm amazed by them. Right. And so my point in bringing that up is size is just what we see on the outside. We have no idea what the capabilities are on the inside. So for me, it's given me confidence, but what it also has given me is I want to take that away from other people who don't feel it.
And, you know, that's one thing I have thought, and it kind of popped in my head as we were talking here, is, you know, talking about our journey, our weight loss journey, and at the same time realizing that there are people who don't have the ability, the tools at the ready that we've been fortunate enough to have to do this. And there are those who it won't work. And it won't, and fat shaming, which our pop culture does, our pop culture does it. And we've lived with it our entire lives. We've been given a way now to lessen that. That's one thing I don't want people who've seen us, and we talk about this and we're sharing it here so openly, is that it's okay. If you are comfortable in the size that you are and you're living the life and you're happy, that's great. I always said that to you. That's one thing I was very adamant about since we met in 1991 until when we had kids. I've never been concerned about appearance. Appearance has never been something with anyone.
So I will full transparency. Yeah. Sam has always been like, you're so beautiful. You're the most beautiful person. Yes. I love you big. I mean, he has always been that way. So the last year, I several times will go to him. He'll say, oh, you look beautiful today. Or you look so nice today. You just look amazing. And I'm like, so did you really like me when I was big? Or were you just saying that? And he's like, Em, I've loved you no matter what. And I've thought you were beautiful the whole way through. And Sam being supportive like that means more than he will probably ever know, but it does again make you question yourself. Like it's just an insecurity thing. Like, oh, did he really think I looked good? What? And you know, it's not about looks and everything, y'all. That's not what I'm. But no, it is.
It's not.
But it is very important, and I also think it's important when you talk about people not having the resources to do the things that we've been able to do, which is very, very valid. Yeah. I also think it's important to people who out there and who don't want to do that. That is 100% your choice. Yes. You be you. And I love that for everybody. I want everyone to feel comfortable. But for those who would like to make the change and I can't get approved, I mean, I can't tell you how. I mean, I've fielded a lot of questions this week about hey, how can I help me figure out a coupon or help me figure out this, which I'm so glad. That means people were listening and they sent me messages. But then there are those people who are trying, who can't maybe get the tools that we've had. I've had the surgery. Let's talk about the tools. I mean, I've had the surgery and I've had the shot. So, I mean, I'm very blessed to have both of those. But then there are people who are just trying the trying to eat less and exercise more. The whole theory, less in, more out, burning calories, and they're not getting anywhere. I want you all to know that you just keep doing that, and that there's nothing that you are doing wrong. There's so much more to weight loss than just the calories in, calories out. Mm-hmm. That is part of it, but that is by far not the only part of it. So you could be doing everything. I just can't tell you like how many times I've been told, oh, you must be eating more, you must be cheating because you didn't lose any weight. No, I followed it to a T and I still didn't lose a single pound or single ounce. And that's because there's hormones, there's other things going on in your body. So I just really, really want people to understand, one, it's okay to love yourself. Mm-hmm. It's important to love yourself no matter where you are, and that your weight shouldn't define you. And unfortunately, I let it define me for a big part of my life. And it's partially defining me now, truth be told. But I also want those who are trying and not getting where they want to get or as fast as they want to get there, just know that it's not you. Keep keep plugging away, and it may click, it may not click, but these things with insurances and these medications and stuff that you may be wanting to get, it's all evolving too, and it's changing. And I really have high hopes that within a year or two, this is going to become more of a standard, as we call it in pharmacy school, the gold standard. What's the gold standard?
Yeah.
So, anyway, there is, there's that.
Yeah, I mean, and one thing I wanted to share, you talk about the confidence in yourself, and one thing I was never concerned about appearance. I didn't care. I mean, look at some of the stuff I wear. I do at least try not to mix colors. I have a thing about wearing blues and blues. It's got to be I'm not wearing the same shade blue and blue, or I'm not wearing, I'm going to wear khakis and I'm going to wear or khaki shorts or whatever. And it's going to be something. I'm not wearing a tan shirt with khakis. I'm not going out and looking like, I'm trying to think about it. Who am I trying to think of? I'm not going to look like man in a yellow suit. I mean, yeah. Although Glenn pulled that costume off perfectly.
Very well, Glenn did.
We're talking about a costume he wore for Harper's birthday back in, and rolls up in the. That was pretty cool. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that one thing that I would think about when I was carrying all this weight, even this past season in lacrosse and in previous years, and I go back and think about it now, I was like, I never heard it. I knew it had to be said. I knew it had to be. What's that guy doing out there running up and down and what? Somebody heckling you or something like that. I never heard it. One reason being that we're far enough to feel off the sidelines. You don't hear what comes out of it. You hear it from the coaches. You don't hear it from the fans. The other tool is we have a tool in lacrosse that you don't like it, go to the parking lot, and it's a pretty quick trigger. But everybody's it's a little different than other sports I've worked. But knowing that there's now a different level of maybe respect because you at least look the part.
Right.
We always talk about looking the part when you're doing that type of work. You may be one of the worst officials out, but if you look like you know what you're talking about, if you've got sharp signals and all that stuff, you can get away with being not a great official because your partners will carry you. But you can get away with it if you look the part. If you come out there with your shirt tail half hanging out, that was a big thing with me. It's still a big thing I give partners.
You're on a tangent.
No, I'm not. This is about confidence. This is about the same thing with the weight loss thing.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Big thing with me was my shirt tails would not stay in having that spare tire. And I wore larger size to get them. I bought shorts. We can buy shorts that actually have in the waistband to keep your shirt tail in so that you look sharp at all times. They sell belts for it. That was a big thing for me, was that because of that gut, my shirt tail would come out.
Yep.
And, you're working 4, 5, 6 games in a tournament, and eventually, I'm constantly tucking it in, and I've got a certain way I do it and all this stuff. Now I don't have to worry about that. Now, granted, now I've got to figure out how I can buy the shirts, and these ain't cheap, buy the shirts that downsize because I can't get the ones I like because they're not making them anymore. They're shifting our.
You got to worry about your shorts falling off as you're running down the field.
I got to worry about shorts falling off when I'm running down the field because I like to wear a certain type of shorts when you're doing this. I got a certain type of belt. I got certain type of shoes. As Emily was giving me a hard time, you are such a diva because I was trying to get my headphones right. I play with the mic all the show. I'm over here adjusting knobs. I'm looking here. So what I'm saying is that by not having that part of me anymore, I'm able to concentrate more on something else, where I was always worried about how I looked when I was out there. And again, being someone who never cared about his appearance, didn't care, I had a big thing about, you had the shelf going on, and I can still do it. I mean, I can lay back and get the shelf. Well, he had the shelf.
Well, let's remember when James was born, he was colicky or whatever.
Oh,
we could not get him.
The shelf was handy.
And the only way James, for like the first 3 weeks of his life, slept was literally across your belly. We stretched it. You stretched your belly.
That's right.
It was perfect to stretch
it was.
him out.
It worked. And it worked with Waylon.
Yes.
If you think about it, our grandson, we worked with him.
Belly. Yes.
So that part, for me, the other thing was, and I don't think I've ever told you this until we were prepping for the show, and I mentioned it. And I don't think right. I was actually worried about coming down the stairs.
Yes, he does.
That coming down the stairs and this is the first house I've lived in that had, second house, third, okay. We've had multiple houses. It's the first time I've lived in a house where the bedrooms were upstairs. They were on the second floor. Mm-hmm. It's the first time I've ever lived in a house like that. And as things progressed, and it was a combination of the weight and going down the stairs was very concerning for me. Like I was taking them one at a time.
Right.
Right up until, we started dropping the weight. Now I'm boom, 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 boom. I had no problem running upstairs. Would I be out of breath? Yes. I would.
And as soon as he would get upstairs, I'd say, "Hey, can you go downstairs and get me a snack?" I still do that. I'm like, now I text. I'm like, "Hey, before you come upstairs, bring me." Right. Not supposed to do that.
But that was something that I've noticed went away. Where now I'm okay with it. Even with the lights on, you come down in the middle of for whatever reason, not having the lights on when I was doing morning shows and I'd leave at 4:30 in the morning. I didn't want to turn all the lights on just because, invariably, not that you weren't awake anyway because I'm noisy, even though I'm thinking I'm being quiet. But just something as simple as going down the stairs. It was amazing how this transition, that concern, that fear went away, on top of not having the knee pain and the leg pain that went on, the swelling. That was another part, that went away with not having to take a diuretic because my ankles were swollen constantly.
Or mine used to look like elephant ankles. If I had to work more than 2 shifts in a row, I used to joke with the doctor that you could put divots in my leg and serve chip and dip because they were so swollen.
There's a term for that. What is that term?
Pitting edema.
Thank you. Pitting edema. Thank you. I knew that term.
I had it really
I
well.
learned some of the stuff that she, in those 7 years that she was actually going to class, and I was sitting in press boxes and on buses and planes and watching James Bond marathons and things like that. We're still going to tell that story one day. But I did pick up a few things.
Just a few.
Even flunking human anatomy twice, I did pick up a few things. For not showing up, not showing up. Anyway.
Yeah, so those are some of the things.
Some of the things with the weight loss.
And we will probably touch on it a million more times, but I just wanted people to know that love yourself how you are, and if you want to change anything, change it. Don't be afraid to change it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I'm very adamant that it is okay to be who you are and how you are. And for women, I'm not trying to be funny, but for women, especially once you start to hit menopause, it's no joke where things tend to settle and things tend to be, and it's harder
things
to
tend
budge.
to show up when you least expect them.
So, it's definitely it's all in there, and just give yourself grace and love yourself. But those are just some of the changes that I've noticed.
There you go. All right. It is the Sam and M podcast. It's brought to you by StatelinePowerWash.com. Here at Sam Walker, OBXNews.com. Let's see. Do we want to talk about the other thing that we mentioned? I think I do want to, only because tonight, this time we're recording this, like I said, on a Wednesday evening. 5 years ago tonight, little did we know what would happen 4 weeks later, 3 weeks later, but 5 years ago tonight was the last time that all 5 of us ate a sit-down meal, just the 5 of us together.
Yep.
Yeah, it popped up in Facebook Memories today.
Yeah, I didn't cry when it did earlier, but now you got me crying.
I'm sorry.
Someone, my cousin in Ohio had asked me, Chris, my cousin Chris, had watched the first podcast, and she had shared it, and then she put a message underneath it or a comment or whatever, and she asked, she thanked me for talking about grief just briefly, and then she said, but for someone who's a non-griever, how do you help a griever?
Someone who's not had a tragedy in their life of that magnitude.
What can we do? What can I do?
What can I do?
And I happen to know that my cousin Chris, shortly after maybe it was a year after Jonathan, her dear best friend, her son died in a motorcycle accident.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So I have talked to Chris several times about her friend, and what she's gone through. And so my answer to Chris was, just listen. Someone, if you have a friend grieving or a family member or whatever, somebody who's grieving, if you just listen, I'd probably say Jonathan's name way too much. I love all my friends who let me. Mm-hmm. They let me share. God, I didn't think I would get upset.
Sorry.
I didn't. But I am. Oh, well.
At the same time, you just said it. Someone who's not grieving, they actually, we've been very fortunate to have friends who are like, man, I love that you talk about him all the time, that you don't hide that. That you said, like you said, we feel like sometimes we say it too much, we talk about it too much, and then we get that return from when we're talking to someone. No, please talk about them. And at the same time, when we talk to someone who's not grieving,
that's what I told my cousin. I said,
yeah,
say their names. I love it when I hear. I mean, I may cry, but I love it when I hear someone say Jonathan's name. Someone else says his name. And I love it when they tell me a little story that I didn't know. Or even if it's one I know, like the kids will sit around and tell stories. And, it just, that does help. I mean, it's a wound that's always there that, you think it's deep down and then it's not. And, so for those of you who are helping people grieve or who are around people who are grieving, it's important to just listen, let them talk. But it's also important to tell the stories, tell them or mention their loved one's name. And I do want to say, and I said it in the first podcast, but someone came back to work yesterday after being gone for months. Their mother had passed away, and I saw them for the first time yesterday. I'm not sure when they came back, but this week, I think. Mm-hmm. And I went out and I asked how she was, and she said, I know it's nothing like what you went through. Yeah. And I just embraced her, and I said, and I mean this, and I say this all the time, and I probably will say it 5,000 more times. Hopefully we'll have 5,000 episodes. I'm just joking. I'm totally joking. But
let's see.
we'd be old as
You're talking about doing dailies for the next 20 years. Let's go.
I will always
7 days a week programming.
I will always say this, and I will stand by it. And there are people who have lost their children who probably would not agree with me. Your grief is your grief. My grief is my grief. Your grief is no greater. My grief is no greater. We are missing a loved one. We have lost someone very important in our lives. And in doing that, that is our grief to carry and not to carry, but our grief that we have. And so I just think it's very, I can't ever say that my grief is more. People say, oh, you lost a son. I know it's different. Well, no, I lost someone who I loved. Not. And yes, did it happen out of the order how life is supposed to happen? Yes. But in the end, it's just, it's not just a loss. It's a loss of someone dear to me, someone losing a parent, an aunt, a good friend, a dear friend. I mean, all of those things.
A pet. Because they're as much as a family member.
Well, I will tell you, I do understand that, but I will say I would never suggest comparing the loss of a pet to a child or a parent in there. I'm not saying it's not a grief, but I will kind of draw the line a little bit there. I'll never forget. I was at that Compassionate Friends. Were you at that group?
That was the last time we went.
It was
Virginia Beach.
Yeah, Compassionate Friends is an organization for parents who have lost children, and they just kind of, you meet and you kind of, it's almost like AA. Is how I picture AA, which I could be completely wrong. So I'm just saying in my head.
It's a support group,
but it is a support group. But you go around and you basically tell each person who's there.
Tell the story.
They have a facilitator, but they're not a trained facilitator.
Yeah.
I went for about 4 or 5 months, but I came home much more depressed than when I went because it was some of the stories and some of the different, it's palpable, the different emotions that people had. And some people were very angry and different, if they'd lost their child. Anyway, but I will never forget this one man brought his wife, and it was his wife's child who had passed. I mean, he was a second husband or whatever. But I will never forget, in a room full of parents who had lost their children, this man said, well, I just don't get why she can't be okay. I mean, the only thing I compare it to is, well, I lost a kitten one time, and I guess that was sad. And I swear to you, I thought the facilitator lady the two ladies were going to jump through the roof. So, I mean, I'm not saying that that's not a grief. So please don't say I'm not saying it's not a grief. But I would not say it's comparable. But that was interesting. And some people, a support group like that is good. For me, my support group has been truly has been my support group has been my dear friends and you and the kids. And I did go to two different counselors, but I went to one who really, really helped me. And we went through a process. So that was good. But so for me, I would say that the last thing I will say is in life, you're taught to kind of look forward, always be looking forward, not backward. Learn from your mistakes, but always look forward. Yeah. And ironically, every morning, first thing that pops in my head when I wake up is, please let me wake up and it have all been a dream. That still pops in my head. And then second, I reach my phone and I look for my Facebook memories. Yeah. So I look for my past. Right. And the days that there are good pictures, it's a wonderful thing.
And you know, this is, you know, less than a month away. We'll be coming up on 5 years. So all that stuff is going to be flooding back. And you know, we're not going to make the podcast all about that. That's one thing we're not going to do. We're not going to drag y'all down the dark hole that we have been in on a regular basis. You know, but we're going to be honest and upfront about, you know, that's our lives, and that's part of what the podcast has come from, is sharing our lives on a regular basis. Because we've always done that on social media. We've always done that with wherever we are. There's always something we're talking about. And at the same time, we're not just doing it to brag. We're doing it just because that's what we do. But at the same time, we love hearing everybody else's stories. We love hearing about when they go places and when their kids, you know, the thumbs up on a Facebook post or the heart or whatever. And, you know, you're thinking, oh, well, it's just somebody being nice. No, we actually do. I'll be straight up about it. We love seeing that stuff. I mean, I being the sports person that I am for so long, I love seeing that stuff. You know, whether it's first hit in T-ball or they, you know, went 4 for 4, or, you know, scored 20 points in a basketball game,
or they're getting a college scholarship, or
exactly,
or someone had a grandbaby or whatever.
You know, it's sharing all that stuff. So one of the things we talked about with doing this podcast was sharing our experiences, and that's part of it. All right, I'm bringing the show back up now. Okay,
I apologize.
Not your favorite here transition. But anyway.
Tiki room.
Yes, you don't like Tiki room, so.
I do not like the Tiki
I have an idea for closing the show. I have some closing music. I think we both agree, which most people will say earworm, thanks a lot, and they'll never listen again. But anyway. Let's talk about this past weekend, because you went to South Carolina and you went to run again in a very, very cool place. Just a quick wrap up on how things were. Daufuskie Island, South Kakalaki.
It was a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Real quick, I had mentioned Pat Conroy.
Yes.
And on
Prince of Tides was the other book that probably he's best known for is The Prince of Tides.
Prince of Tides and what, The Great Santini?
And The Great Santini, yes. Yeah.
But this book was the Water Wide.
Yeah, the Water Wide, which is
that what it was called?
Yeah, the Water Wide. Yeah, which is about the Daufuskie Island.
Anyway, on our very cold and windy ferry ride over, I started talking with ladies across from us, as I will always be talking to people around me who I don't know. Chatterbox. I am a little chatterbox. Anyway, I was mentioning how we had been talking about this book, and the woman says, "Oh, yeah, my mom was an English teacher with him, and my aunt was very good friends with Pat Conroy." Wow. So it was kind of cool just getting over there. It was so windy and so cold. If anyone has seen any of my pictures on Facebook, they were laughing. My girlfriends were laughing at me the whole weekend because I was like the homeless lady. Like, I had on a hat, I had on a sweatshirt.
I'm not going to throw it up on the screen. I don't have it set up tonight to do that. But I
definitely looked like a homeless, like a homeless person that was probably like 1,000 years old. But I was freezing. But I was so proud of myself and proud of my girlfriends and proud of especially me and Stephanie. I'm going to give a shout out to Stephanie. Stephanie and I of our group are the slower ones. And Stephanie had a fractured foot.
Yeah.
Without her brace on or without her boot on.
Now you're going to trouble with her doctor.
Well, we're hoping not. But anyway, she and I, we kind of all took off at different paces. And about, like, you know, everyone's got different intervals. So we kept passing each other. So about mile 2, we were like, screw it, let's just all stay together. And Miss Carrie Cahill was our leader, and Carrie was like 30-second run, 30-second walk, and
herding cats.
Yep. But she took on the leadership role, and I have to say, I've never done the whole half marathon that way. And I made it to mile 2 I was doing 30 run, 1 minute walk, which I found out that you should never walk more than 30 seconds. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. So anyway,
really?
So,
okay.
So we did it, and I made it all the way to like mile 12.25. And then I walked a lot more than I ran, but still I was down to the last mile. Usually, y'all, I give up about mile 8 and walk the last 5. So I was so proud of myself, and Stephanie did it too. We both did it. We hadn't really trained to do that.
Right.
So I think had we not had Miss Cahill being our leader, though, we might not have. So I was so proud. I mean, my time was still like, we still were like 3:15, 3:20, but I feel positive that I can get back on track with my running and my intervals. So that was really good. Sylvia, I got to give a shout out to Sylvia. She had been training for a marathon, but then the girls decided not to do marathon. They switched to half. That morning she got up and she ran the marathon, not having trained more than 18 miles, and she did phenomenal.
Wow.
So the race itself was great. Another girl with us, my friend from Savannah, Sarah, she did the marathon too. Amy did it in like 2 hours and 15 minutes. Like, everyone did amazing. I mean, everyone did
the half.
She did the half,
yeah.
But Amy did it like fast. The rest of us were like there, but it was amazing. My only frustration, and I've read this on different blogs and stuff, and I hadn't really witnessed it myself, and I am a slow runner. I mean, I'm going to come in the back of the pack. For those marathoners, like the last 15 or 20, they didn't have any food. They didn't have any water. Like, the water was like, they had been packing up. So I really, really felt bad for them. And I don't mean anything bad, because I do think the people who run the race are good. I mean, I think they are good.
And full disclosure, most everybody who does that part of it are volunteers. They volunteer their to be out there to hand people water cups and get splashed with water. But they
ran out of. I mean, they ran out of food. They did not run out of waters. They had just put those up. Now the beer the beer was empty, but the Trulies were still there.
Okay,
but which our group may have brought quite a few of those back, because they were like, we don't want to take these off the island. We're like, we'll do that for you.
Right.
But so that was a frustrating thing. They didn't have that, and if you've run a freaking marathon, my God, you and then you still have like a 30-40 minute ferry ride back,
right? And you got nothing.
You've got nothing. Luckily, I had saved like a bag of potato chips, so I gave those to Sylvia, so she had some salt in that. But that kind of stunk.
Yeah.
But it's not. In general, I would still highly, highly suggest this race. I think there were probably enough people frustrated that they'll be. But I have heard that before, where races pack up. I had it happen in Pennsylvania when I did my Pennsylvania State. Like,
yeah, that's right.
Like, they were like completely like, oh, there's 3 people on the course. So, and they had given 8, and the frustrating is they had given 8 hours time limit. So legitimately people sign up
to stay
for
for 8 hours or everybody finishes.
Right.
Now then you get into the situation of the Disney runs, which do have sweepers. They do sweep people off the course, the infamous balloon ladies who run a 16-mile pace in the half, and
they walk it.
They walk a 16-mile pace in the half, and I think is it
16? Everything is a 6.
It's a 16 mile.
Yes.
So it's every race is a 16 mile, and partially because of where those races are, and it's no different than if we run them through a downtown area. There is a point where you've got to get these people off the course, because you've got these people who have been out for 10, 12 hours, especially in races, because they start at 7 a.m., 6 a.m., 5 a.m., 4 a.m. What's our start times for Run
5.
Disney? 5?
It used to be 5:30.
It's like 5:30. So, yeah. So, and, they've got to sweep them. But at the same time, at least stay long enough to provide the services to every competitor. And then once you sweep, then that makes sense.
Well, and I could understand if they had even gone down to like just a small table at a tent, like, hey, here's
Yeah.
the waters, here's this, whatever. They still had the thing up where you crossed and they said your name and everything.
Yeah,
but
okay. So you still had to finish. Yeah, you
Yeah,
still had
yeah.
the experience.
You still got to
but
do that,
part
but,
was,
yeah.
and that part is key. That's more important than just the medal. That's the health of your
Yes,
competitors.
yeah.
That's the health of participants.
So I think that they'll work on doing that better.
Yeah.
And just a side note about balloon ladies, they are not Disney indoors.
Exactly.
They are not.
That's not something.
That is a thing. They are a group of ladies that live there in Orlando. They have a podcast that's pretty cool to listen
Right.
to. But Disney is very clear. We can sweep the balloon ladies. You do not make the balloon ladies your
That's not
your
your
thing.
target.
Yeah.
That's not your thing. They can sweep you at any point.
they
They'll sweep you.
haven't, but I'm just saying.
Right,
They
yeah.
do make it very
They
clear.
use, but they register just like the rest of us, and they go out there and do it. But they do it to give everyone a visual marker of this is the point you need to get your butt up, or you're done. Unfortunately, you ran the half into Fusky Island on Saturday, and I was going to try and do my own half. I just decided. I think Friday night I decided, maybe Thursday.
No, when we were at the store on Thursday.
Yeah,
we were like,
Thursday.
yeah,
I
do it.
mentioned, and I think I said on the podcast I was going to do a half, and I did. Pushed it to Sunday, which was actually a better weather situation, is why I pushed it to Sunday. So I did a solo half here on the island, ran from our house to the campground and back, and then from our house did the streets. There's two streets, two of the streets between here and the other end of the island, and we did it and came back. So, which was at the same time as the Disneyland half marathon. It was the coast to coast situation because they had the Walt Disney World Marathon weekend the week before. This past weekend was the Disneyland races, which was the first time since 19, pre-pandemic. Way pre-pandemic.
Probably 17.
17, yeah, so it was the first time. And we've seen more than one post in the Disney blogs and the Run Disney Facebook groups that it was a different experience. If you've never run a Walt Disneyland race, you're not on property. You're pretty much, because Disneyland fits inside Magic Kingdom, essentially, at Walt Disney World. Walt Disney World covers 43 square miles, 27,000 acres, or used to. But
The knowledge you have.
But you stay on property the whole time there. So that's why there's character experiences and there's all this stuff that's out on the full course. At Disneyland, you're running in Anaheim. You're running the streets of Anaheim. I did see somebody compare the Angels Stadium to the Blizzard Beach experience.
Oh,
The Blizzard Beach parking lot experience.
that was awful at the marathon.
But yeah. You run through the parking lot at Blizzard Beach at what, mile
18,
or
maybe 16 to 18.
Yeah.
I mean, who knew the parking lot was like a mile and a half?
And that's
It
after
is.
having run through Animal Kingdom, which is the hottest part of the entire place. With similar situation, I guess, with what happened out in California. But you're running the streets of Anaheim. The city of Anaheim and the residents there really supported the race. This year, not so much. And I think part of it is because it had been so long. So those are a couple things we had heard about this. But anyway, back to us, because it's all about us. I did a half because I felt like, so my second half, third, I mean, because we did the one New Year's Day.
Yeah.
But this was really the one did solo. I stuck to the 30-45. I made 2-minute sprint at the beginning. Then that's a quarter mile. Walk a quarter mile up to the stop sign, and then do a 30-45, and did that the whole way. I think I might have skipped one or two. I was shooting some video, did a TikTok, and then what was my time? I was like
250.
250. So I was under 3. It was really.
I think by Shamrock you can be at probably 240. I think
240?
you can take another 10. Oh yeah, I think
Okay.
you can.
All right. Well, anyway.
I will not be, but you can.
So even though we're not running together, we're running together. That's the thing about it. And it's, it just goes back to, because we call it the Sam and M podcast at SamWalkerOBXNews.com for a reason. It's Sam and M, because we try to do all this stuff. And that was one thing about the running part of it, and we're going to wrap it up here, is that I got into this, and now I feel guilty that I'm taking you away from the experiences you had with your close friends for all these years. Whether it's the show up, when I showed up at the marathon last year, and that literally was got off a plane, got off a plane, went to the hotel, Slept for 2 hours, got up, which I should have never even got in the hotel room. I should have just drove straight to the Epcot parking lot and slept there, and showed up, and then got on the plane that night and flew home. Because I was specific about it. I did not want to take away the experience that you and Amy had, because that was a team thing. That was the two of you. Did the same thing, showed up at Princess, ended up staying longer because I drove, so I ended up staying and ended up going to the parks with you guys on that Sunday after the half. But still, I didn't want to be involved with, taking away the experience. And it's one thing I felt guilty about was getting into the running now, and I'm showing up to all the events.
Well, you're not showing up to all of them because we're not letting you.
Okay. Well, there you go. It's decided, right?
There you go.
It's decided. All right. So that's how things went with for you, Defusky, me doing my own solo half around here. All right. Let's see. We're gonna wrap it up here because we're up on the 60. Some of the stuff at SamWalkerOBXNews.com. You recognize this music, by the way? Ellen's Energy Adventure, which we loved. Although you didn't like the raid, you hated the ride vehicles. That was where the dinosaurs were. That's now, of course, Guardians at Epcot. All right, some of the stuff we got at SamWalkerOBXNews.com. The Dare Housing Task Force is meeting Thursday. We're recording this Wednesday. They're meeting Thursday morning. You're not going to hear this till Thursday night. So anyway, live blog there, and I'll wrap it as well. Pirates Cove Marina sold. That was announced on Tuesday for just over $7 million. Got the deets about that. And, of course, with the cold snap we've had this week, that means cold stun. Two things, actually. I didn't even think about this until just now. Cold stun sea turtles showing up on the sound side, especially on Hatteras and Ocracoke, and on the ocean side, but really on the sound side. Stone cold locks. It's cold stunned speckled trout.
Oh.
That's something to consider as well. And the inland creeks and rivers, the Pamlico Sound, they go into the deep holes, the water drops rapidly, and they turn up floating up. So hopefully we don't get those, because that's what ends up, we can't catch speckled trout at all for half the year. So anyway, just a couple of things we got for you at SamWalkerOBXNews.com. So that's what's there. It's just about time to wrap the show. Any final stuff you want to get to?
No, I think it's...
Okay, all right. Well, then just make sure you like and follow and subscribe and hit the bell on your favorite podcast app. You'll find us there. Facebook, YouTube. Thanks for everybody that has joined us on all the different platforms we're up at. Thanks for all of our founders at SamWalkerOBXNews.com. Make sure you hit the 5 stars. Make sure you're interacting with us. Give us your thoughts, topics for future episodes. We'd love to hear that. So shoot us the DMs. Shoot us the comments on your favorite podcast platform. We love to see that stuff. Of course, it's SamWalkerOBXNews@gmail.com if you want to email us. Otherwise, hit us on the DMs on the social media. And again, we are brought to you by State Line Power Wash. Thanks, boys. Thank you so much for jumping on board.
Thank you.
Locally owned and operated by Parker and Smith Hammer. Pressure washing, painting, concrete floor sealing, serving the Outer Banks of northeastern North Carolina with over 140 5-star reviews on the Google. Schedule now for winter and early spring discounts at StatelinePowerWash.com for free estimates. All right, we're closing the show. I was gonna go with
It's a small world.
I know. I was gonna
You're gonna
go
lose
with
Glenn. You're gonna lose Glenn.
I've lost Glenn. Now he's done. Our pal Glenn Yarborough is already done because of that
Sorry,
earworm.
Glenn.
But I was debating between Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, and I couldn't find a version I liked. I got to go through and do some of my rips that I like to do off.
I think I just saw that. Wasn't it an anniversary of that? The carousel?
Oh,
Progress? I feel like I saw it was
What?
an anniversary of that.
Okay, I got to go.
Next time.
Thanks, rabbit hole. That's where I'm going down tonight. All right, guys.
Everyone
thank
have a great
you.
week.
Have a great week. We'll see you next time on the Sam and M podcast.
Bye.
Bye.